All right, it is 1 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the end of calendar year webinar. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Delaney Strittmatter. I'm a customer success manager here at ThankView, and I'm excited to chat with you guys today about the end of calendar year campaigns and how to prep for it. And honestly, I can't believe it is almost December and that Christmas will be here before we know it. It actually snowed today in New York, was the first day, so it's finally here, and we have to prep for it. But before we get to the agenda for today, I do want to mention some of the resources that we have for you guys here at ThankView. We have a Facebook and LinkedIn community group. If I'm being honest, the Facebook group is a little more poppin' than our LinkedIn group. I think everyone wants to be super buttoned up on LinkedIn. That's my suspicion, and less worried about that on Facebook. So whichever you prefer, LinkedIn or Facebook, make sure to check those out for some advice, some examples. It's just a really great place to get to know other ThankView users. We also have a ThankView blog. We post partner examples, subject line tips, webinar recaps like this one, you name it. It's a great place to check out for some ideas. And finally, we have a YouTube channel. The recording of this webinar will be there along with all of our other webinars from 2019. So make sure to check it out. Now to what we're gonna accomplish today. First, we're gonna take a look at some end of year giving stats, just to give some perspective as we go into end of year campaigns and what to expect from them. Second, we'll take a look at the checklist itself and then break it down into ways that you can get creative with your end of year sends. Third, we've broken down some kind of messaging to use for each channel. And while I can only get so specific, with a few dozen people on this webinar, we are gonna go through a few different messaging channels, just as a great reminder for you and your team to ask yourselves, this is the overview, but what is our central theme of end of year messaging? What does a creative send for our staff look like? So we're going to touch on that more broadly, but for you guys, as you're kind of taking this in and looking at those stats and these examples, what does that mean for you guys as we approach the end of the year? And then we will bring it back to some specifics. We'll look at campaign examples, what central messaging look like for schools like UMass Dartmouth and others. So we'll take a look at those. And then we'll have a Q&A session. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask them in the Q&A box or the chat box. I'm going to hold off just to make sure we get through all of the slides and all the examples and kind of go through those at the end. And then after Q&A, I want to end with just a sneak peek of our webinars for 2020 and get your feedback. There's, of course, questions that we get pretty frequently as customer success managers, and that's kind of how we chose the upcoming topics. But if there's something you think is missing, a topic you're really excited to hear more about, please let us know, because we like to hear it. With all that said, let's go ahead and rock and roll and start with our end of year giving stats. So these are a few stats that I came up with. They are taken from Next After, so I don't want to take credit for these stats or statistics. But I did want to point out that the giving season starts with Giving Tuesday, but the majority of gifts are not given on Giving Tuesday. The stats I was looking at, 36.3% of donations come in on December 31st. So of the entire giving season, a pretty large chunk are on that last day, on the last possible day to give. And then the third point here, the median amount of emails that a donor is receiving from an organization they support is around 7. So it's just good for you guys to keep in mind as you are sending out emails. They are getting at least 7 emails from any other organization that they support. But what do these stats mean? I think the biggest takeaway here is that though you may be participating in Giving Tuesday, and that is an amazing touch point, the majority of your end of year giving won't come on December 3rd. So don't put all of your eggs in one basket there with Giving Tuesday. Make sure that your Giving Tuesday campaign is not just a singular campaign, but that it's a larger part when you're looking at your end of year giving. Keeping in mind, again, I want to hit this point home just one more time. Your donors are getting not 1, not 2, but most likely 7 emails from other organizations around this time. So they're likely to not open every email that you send, and it is not a bad thing to keep repeating your message just to make sure that they are actually seeing it and receiving it, reading it, and then acting on it. According to this Next After data, most organizations are under-communicating rather than over-communicating. So when it comes to planning your end-of-year campaigns, there's a lot of different areas to consider, and today we're going to look at 3 areas or kind of buckets to put things in as you go through a checklist. And this is a lot of data in one slide, I know. So I'm going to be sending this as an attachment to the recap email. Don't feel the need to screenshot or take notes on all of this right now. You'll get the recording and the checklist itself tomorrow when I send the recap. So when it comes to, let's take a look first at our data section here. The first checklist, or the first thing on this checklist, is to run a list of all the LiveBunts who previously donated before December 31st, 2018. The slide's a little outdated here. So anyone who donated before December 31st, 2018, reaching out to these people really to emphasize that tax deduction that's coming up for 2019. Even though the law did change, again, I pulled data from Next After that really indicated that donors haven't really shifted activity because of the law changing. Donations aren't decreasing or increasing because of that. The next step on this data portion here is to run a list of all of your LiveBunts, SideBunts, and non-donors. In addition, I'd recommend identifying your top ThankView prospects without a current gift to date. And you can find out who your top ThankView prospects are right in the ThankView system. On the metrics CSV download, so that when you go into that metrics page, you can sort your prospects by their engagement score. The higher their star rating means that they opened, that they watched, that they clicked on your ThankView sends. And you can look through that data and reach out to your data team to see if there are any gifts associated with those top prospects. Because those are really kind of low-hanging fruit for you guys coming to the end of the year. If you know that they're interested in what you're sending them but haven't made a gift yet, just kind of pressing on those emails and reaching out to those prospects. And then finally, the last data point here is great to have a list of assigned prospects without an annual gift. This is information you'll likely need to gather from your data manager, but these are the people who are really going to benefit from that tax deduction part of the messaging. So you'll want to reach out to them and make sure that messaging is clear. And I did put some 2 optional points here at the bottom. Oops, sorry about that. So the 2 optional points here are to run a list of your top social media engagers without a current year gift. And this doesn't have to be, oops, sorry. I'm still getting the ringing from my phone there, so I apologize. So if it's possible, it's really great to run that list. It's very easy to do if you have an overlay tool like Gravity or Evertrue. You can easily pull that list since it will connect to both your social and your database. But if that's not an option, reach out to whoever your social media point person is, and they might be able to help you out with details like who frequently interacted with ad campaigns, who are top promoters, who's liking, sharing all of the content that you guys are putting out. And then finally for the data section, and this is the final one, I promise, it is great to also have a list of assigned prospects without an annual gift. This information you'll, again, likely need to gather from your data manager, but these are people who are really gonna benefit from that end of year tax benefit messaging. And speaking of messaging, let's move on to that portion on the to-do list here. First is to come up with a theme for your end of calendar year. And this doesn't have to be completely new from all of your 2019 messaging. If there's a current campaign that you guys are focusing on coming to the end of the year, don't feel the need to start from scratch there. Definitely don't need to make your job harder than it has to be. If you're sticking with a year-long campaign message, maybe how can you tell the story just a little bit differently? And can you add a new face to tell that story? Again, this can be as simple as a tagline that goes into all of your communications come the end of the year. So someone who's getting a call, someone who sees a social post, and someone who gets a thank you is seeing a uniform look and appeal. The second point here is to set a date for all communication. What's going out when, who is approving and who is sending. These things should be figured out before December rolls around. That way you can sit back and relax, have an office tree lighting, drink some hot cocoa, enjoy the Christmas spirit instead of stressing. So this mini calendar should include all of your phone, email, social, personal outreach, text messaging, or direct mail pieces. Finally, for video and digital, here are some ideas for what your messaging can look like for an end-of-year campaign. You can create a top 10 listicle and turn that into a cool-looking infographic to say thanks to your current donors. And this can even look like an exclusive update or holiday greeting to your top prospects as well. The very last thing on the messaging portion here is to use students in videos to highlight any needs on campus, whether that's a food pantry or another project going on campus. This is the season of giving, so really make sure to highlight those kinds of topics. And then we have video and messaging. And yeah, those were our, I think I put feature students here, and I wanted to make a note. Sorry, I'm reading my slides along with you guys. So to say that can also be whether it's a nonprofit organization that you guys are working with, people who are directly benefiting from your work. So it doesn't have to be students directly on campus. This can be something that you guys are, a project that you've been working on all year, and then really highlight coming towards the end of the year. So let's take a look at where you can get creative and where you can innovate with the messaging. At the end of the year, it's really great. It's really about getting as many people to give as possible. So it feels like it can be just a numbers game, but you guys can really create results by communicating with your donors, just like people, and just really emphasizing, the end of the year holiday giving spirit. And for stewardship, this really looks like saying thank you in a video. For anyone that has given this past year, this video can feature a student or someone who's received support from your organization, really showing your impact and as being as specific as possible. Was there one fundraising campaign in 2019 that did really well? Make sure you're highlighting that. If it's a sports team that raised money for an event or a trip, maybe sending photos or videos from that trip. For events, are there any on-campus events for donors as you're approaching the end of the year? Make sure you're inviting your top donors that live in the area and have them chat with your staff and your faculty, giving them a chance to not only mix and mingle with the people at your organization, but to meet other donors as well. Finding out more about who they are, why they give, and to drink and be merry during the holiday season. And this can look like a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be a party. You can invite donors to stop by and get a free coffee or free cookie at a campus bakery. Anything that goes just above and beyond to show your donors that they matter and that you really appreciate their support. And of course, throughout your end of year campaigns, you'll be sending out appeals, and these appeals can be for general support or for specific things like a food pantry on campus. Scholarships never go out of season. So if that is the theme that you guys have chosen to stick with towards the end of the year, that is a really great thing to emphasize during that season of giving. And for social and for your thank you sends, why not try rewriting a popular holiday tune or story like The Night Before Christmas? If you were a client last year, you'll remember that we sent out a series based off A Christmas Carol. We sent that to all of our partners, and I'll link to that in the follow-up email if you're looking for some inspiration as to how to get your office involved in a little bit of a more quirky send. And I have it here as well. I'm gonna play just a few seconds to show you guys that this is just filmed in our office. It took a few days to create, and just give you a few minutes to take it in.
"'Twas Christmas Eve, and Ebenezer Rude, already a prickly character, was in quite a mood. We need more money, and we need it right now. Keep asking the donors, keep milking that cow. A meek voice piped up. But it's thanks our donors need. Why approach this night with such feverish greed?
And like I said, I will link to that. I won't play the whole thing here. It actually came in 5 episodes. So if you were a partner last year, you got one for every day leading up to the week of Christmas. So let's see. I'm not going to play the whole video, but if you have any questions about how we edited the video, the animation at the beginning was just a plugin that we purchased, and I'm happy to share that site with you if you're interested in doing an office send, an office rewrite of a holiday tune, and would like a little intro to put into that. Happy to share that information. So let's take a look at some untapped opportunities. When it comes to planned giving, making sure to plug those IRA rollovers at the beginning of each month. Though, again, the tax law changed, there hasn't been a significant decrease in the amount of end of year giving due to that. So again, just pulling those numbers from the Next After research that they've been doing. For volunteers, make sure that your board and ambassadors are the most generous donors. Aim for that 100% participation before the end of the year. And make sure to keep your volunteers and your board members updated on the progress throughout the month. Just a real celebration email going out once you guys hit that 100%. And this is closely related to the last point here on text and phone calls. Having a list for your board members to reach out to live events, and make sure that your volunteers are reaching out to people, one-on-one donors who donated last year but haven't donated this year, giving them a chance to share why they donate, why they're involved with your organization. And let's take a look at messaging by channels. What does it look like to stretch a theme across a month-long campaign and through various channels? The first thing that we mentioned on that checklist there as well is to set your theme, sitting down with your team to decide what it is that you're going to focus on with each of your emails, your calls, and your social posts. Which ties quite nicely into the second point here, which is to decide which channels you'll be using and which you'll focus on more heavily. And an important thing to note here, which is easy to remember on the onset, but very easy to lose sight of the more options that you look at, the more plans you propose, but always remember to focus on doing things well and not on doing everything. If that means really focusing on email, really dialing down on social post, but doing what you're picking well and messaging through that channel consistently, and just choosing which ones that you guys have your strengths in. And make sure that each channel has a point person. This is similar to our checklist over there, but who is in charge of social, who is in charge of phone calls or email campaigns, and what's the best system of communication for your team to track your progress and the success of each element of your end of year campaigns. And make sure all those questions are brought up and addressed in that initial theme meeting as well. And let's take a look at what that looks like for each channel. I started with a phone here. And so for phone, an example campaign would be to reach out to your live bunts who gave before the end of calendar year in 2018. You'll want the message to include a thank you for that previous gift and a short example of what their support meant to your organization or your school. The example I have on here is that scholarship support rose to the highest level ever last year. Thank you for being a part of that historic year. And you'll really want to stress that end of year deadline. You'll want these calls to be quick and to the point, whether it's your staff, your students, or you who's making these calls. Make sure that you've got a script ready to go and a voicemail script as well for those who do not answer. And I have a second slide here just because I had a lot of information on phone and could not fit all in one slide. If you aim to call, you can aim to call twice, at least twice during the month of December. Similar to that, 7 emails being sent. People are very busy and receiving a ton of messaging throughout the Christmas season. So make sure that your messaging is getting across by sending out multiple messages and calling more than once. And allowing for a considering option when you're speaking with people on the phone. Someone who may not be willing to commit, but is a great person to follow up with a thank you. If you have the bandwidth, try and record just a quick thank you message for your callers who answered and answered with a maybe. And you're going to put some priority on Libunts, but once those are complete, try and loop in SciBunts and non-donors. Again, keeping that maybe category open for thank you follow-up. And email and video. Again, segmenting is crucial here. You'll want your messaging for your Libunts and SciBunts to be a little bit different, but here are the things you'll definitely want to include in both of those messages. You'll want to acknowledge past support, adhering to the theme that you chose, and focusing on that end of year campaign, and then stressing that end of year deadline. And the third thing here is to consider personalized videos for Libunts who gave over a certain amount. It's truly shocking to people when they get a message, when they get a video that is made just for them. It's easy to replicate copy and use merge fields to personalize, but it is so much more to sit down and record a quick video, naming someone by name, talking about their previous gift, and why a donation before the end of this year would make such a big difference in your organization. And then finally, I have one more slide before we head into the campaign examples portion. Social media. Social media is a great space for your Christmas Carol songs and sketches. It is a great place for you to be a little more creative and test and see what works. The audiences can be segmented similarly to email. That way, whatever message you're sending to their inbox is just being reinforced online as well. Again, we have that top 10 reason video or infographic that you could make. If you're not sure which you should lean towards, whether video or infographics on social, always lean towards video. It's the most engaging type of post for your organization, and people are much more likely to stop, thumbing through social and pause on a video rather than a still image. And if you're sending a personalized thank you, using that tracking pixel on the landing page to follow up with a more generic version of the same video, maybe with a group of students or staff, just reinforcing that message on social. And then with everything you're posting, really stress that end of year deadline and stick with your theme. A good checklist for anything that you send out is 1, does it mention the deadline? And 2, does it use our theme in some way during the message? If your outreach checks both those boxes, then you are in great shape and ready to send that out. So let's take a look at some examples, what that actually looks like as you are getting ready to make these videos, make these graphics, and get ready to call people. So this is an infographic from UMass Dartmouth. They did a top 10 reasons to give. This one is the only one that's not a video, but I did want to show it. Even though it's really busy, it's kind of the point for this post. You get the sense just looking at it that there are numerous reasons why I should support UMass Dartmouth, that there are almost too many reasons to count. So it's a really great way to do that right in the infographic. And it's broken up quite nicely with a few different images, which is what I love most. What I love most is that this infographic inspired a video, which I'm gonna show right here. So this came directly from that same material, but they turned it into a video. And then our next example here is from the San Francisco Ballet. This is a solicitation with a story. So it just really does a great job of focusing on one student, and let's play it.
Hi, my name is Natasha Sheehan. I'm a corps de ballet member with the San Francisco Ballet. I heard about the San Francisco Ballet School from some girls at my local ballet studio when I just started dancing, and I auditioned and got accepted when I was 11 years old, and I've been there ever since I joined the company. Over the years at the San Francisco Ballet School, it's been a very nurturing and welcoming environment, and the teachers are fantastic and push you, but also care for you at the same time. And I feel like I've grown up with each of the faculty members and different students. I joined the trainee program when I was 15 years old, and I was a trainee for 2 years. And the training program here is so fantastic because you get a little hint of what it's like to be a professional while still being in the school, and work with some of the company dancers who will choreograph on us. I was also very lucky to get to perform in Swan Lake last year with the company, and I was also honored to get to perform as a Cygnet, one of the 4 little swans. So that was really quite an experience, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. This year I'm super excited for my first season with the company, and the repertoire is fantastic, from Swan Lake to Liam Scarlett's new Frankenstein, and also many different Balanchine ballets and Helgi Thomason's Hafner Symphony. When I perform on stage, it's like I'm in a whole nother world, and I kind of forget anything else. And once I step on stage, all the nerves are gone, and whatever happens, happens. And dancing just makes me feel like me, and I couldn't see doing anything else. My journey would not have been possible without the San Francisco Ballet School. Please help young dancers like me dance their dreams.
Love that video. And similarly, we're going to take a look at Stanford, and a video that they focused on a little bit non-traditional students, and it's focusing again just on one story and really playing that out, showing what she's accomplished, and just looking at her life and what a donation meant to her. And it's just a really great video. So I'm going to stop talking about it and just play it for you guys.
Your gift is making a difference for students. From the moment they come to Stanford, they are learning every day through their studies in the classroom and through their friends and classmates. From their first fountain hop or their first big game, all the way to their final walk on graduation day. They know they have your support, and that means everything.
I teased you with the wrong video. This was a thank you video, and the video that I was talking about is here from Indiana University.
My name's Lori Fitzgerald, and my major is radiography. I had 6 boys in 7.5 years, and I stayed home with them. I encountered a lot of things that I had to work through in order to be able to be committed as a full-time student. So I really had to sit down and I had to list all of my obstacles, everything that could stop me from completing my education. The cost of the books, you need to buy your scrubs, you need to have gas to get to clinicals, vaccinations, all health insurance. The day I learned that I had received the scholarship here at IU Kokomo, it's called a Your Chance Scholarship. I was right in the middle of figuring out, okay, I did it. I was one of 12 students accepted into radiography, but I have no clue how I'm going to pay for it. And I got that scholarship. I was doing the happy dance. I was just so excited to be able to fill in those holes with this scholarship. It makes the difference between my being able to complete the program and not. Your gift matters so much more than you know.
Ah, love it. And I didn't want to brush past this thank you video. It has really amazing components. It is showing what exactly a donation is going towards, really featuring students, featuring, not only in the cafeteria, but at graduation. So from start to finish, what Stanford is doing in the lives of their students. So this is really great, and probably one of the best things is that it's within that 30 seconds to a minute length, and that is really the sweet spot as far as social videos go, and thank yous as well. So that's a really incredible thank you. And then again, really focusing just on one woman's story here for their calendar year end in 2017. It was so moving. I still enjoy watching this. I watched it several times, and each time I'm just kind of blown away by her story. So that's, if you have those stories and can find those stories, really featuring, just one person can be so impactful as opposed to a larger, trying to show everything that you guys are doing. Focusing in and really picking one story to share is really, really impactful. And with that said, we have the Q&A section here. If there were any questions along the way, if there's anything that came up after the examples, just let me know. All right, I'm going to move into our sneak peek for 2020 webinars, but feel free to keep typing if you're working on a question. Happy to come back and answer those. But I do want to show you guys what we are planning for 2020. The first will be a Valentine's Day examples and how-tos. We're also hoping to do a phone-a-thon panel with partners showing how they do phone-a-thons and how they incorporate ThankView into those. We're also looking at doing a webinar on small teams, but mighty communications, teams of 2 or 3 or even teams of 1, how they use ThankView. Doing a deep dive into metrics, what open rates, click-through rates, engagement scores, what do those all really mean? Just doing a deep dive into those. We have one called Gratitude, focusing your team and your communications on gratitude throughout the year. User experience. We're going to have a conversation with one of our designers on branding, voice, highlighting some really great examples from our partners as well. And I would love to hear what you guys think. If there's one you're like, yes, in that to win it. We'd love to hear that, as well as if there's a topic that you'd really like to learn more about, see examples from other ThankView users, please just let us know. And you can let me know at Delaney@thankview.com, or you can email your customer success manager, whatever is easiest for you. We would love to hear what you guys are thinking. And with that, that is all I have as far as slides. So if there aren't any questions, thank you guys so much for attending and for being ThankView partners. It's really great. We are looking forward to your end of year sends. Really enjoyed those videos, and we will probably be sending out something weird towards the end of the year. So be on the lookout for that. Oh, great. Thank you guys.